Are you thinking about purchasing a home this year and you're unsure about the market and everything that's coming along with it as far as interest rates, inflation, and feeling like you might have missed the boat? Well, I want you to watch this video to the very end before you decide on buying a house. My name is Seanu Uyehara. I'm a branch manager with Loan Depot, helping you finance your homes all across America. Whether you're buying your first home, a vacation home, your first investment property, or simply trying to understand and navigate these mortgage waters, I'm here for you, and this is why I created my channel. I drop content every single week to help you get your mortgage right. And if you have questions, need a second opinion, you can always send me an email and we'd be happy to do an analysis for you. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel and share these videos with your friends and family if they're needing help with their home loan. I wanted to talk about the housing market because if you are thinking about buying today, and if you mention that to anyone right now, they will probably tell you that you're crazy for thinking of buying a house in today's market. But the need to purchase a home is different for every single client that's out there. And I think that's one important thing to understand, is that everyone has a different motivation as to why they need to buy a house. I've had clients that were downsizing. So they were moving out of a 4,000 or 5,000 square foot home and looking for something smaller that as a couple they can manage themselves, or they're going into their retirement years and they want something that they can just lock up and then go and vacation and enjoy their retirement years. I've had couples that were married, having a kid for the first time, and they're needing more space because they've been living in a condo together. So there's a lot of motivational reasons as to why someone might need to purchase a home today. It's not always based on the fact that they're looking to make a quick profit. I think that's one thing that gets misconstrued a lot, is that you're looking to buy and sell your property and make tens of thousands of dollars, or you're looking to capitalize on the appreciation that we've seen in these last several years. In fact, I've had many clients that were buying a home because their rent has been going up so significantly that they were afraid of the next increase that was going to happen. They finally bit the bullet and said, let's try to look at qualifying just for the hell of it to see if we can purchase a home. Now, there's so many reasons, like I just mentioned, as to why someone might look to buy a house. But if you are thinking about buying a home simply for the fact of trying to make money right now, I don't think it's the perfect time to do that unless you're flipping houses, you have a good track record, and you've actually been in a down market before to where you can navigate those waters really well. If this is your first flip and you're hoping to make a ton of money, I would definitely tell you to solicit the help of a more experienced house flipper, general contractor, or someone who knows what they're doing, because you might get into it and not know what you're doing. Depending on how long that construction could take, you could easily dig yourself a hole that you may not get out of, and you could lose a ton of money. I think timing is one of the most important things when it comes to buying a house. So if you are in the market for a home today, you have to really consider how much time do you have to be able to purchase a home. If you are in a time crunch, this might be a really tough market for you to find a home because there's not a ton of inventory on the marketplace. Given in certain markets across the country, inventory is starting to creep back up, but it's not anything to where you would notice where it's going to start to change values, prices in markets. I think a lot of the sellers that were out there were overpriced in the first place because they knew they could ask an extra $10,000, $20,000 for their home. However, if the home has been sitting for the last several weeks, maybe they're not getting as many offers as they initially hoped, or what they were initially getting. And maybe now they're finally reducing those prices to become a little more realistic to where maybe the market value should be to try to get that house sold. So if time is of the essence to you, you need to be cognizant of how quickly that you might be able to get out shopping and get your offer accepted to close on a house. Because remember, the typical closing once a seller accepts your offer is about 30 days. Now, in some situations, lenders can close in a couple of weeks, but the stars need to align in order for that to happen, and it's not really a common occurrence. Most closings take about 3 to 4 weeks to happen these days. Now let's look at the flip side. If you've got some time behind you, maybe you're a year out from buying, this is where you really need to dive into your credit, to your finances, and really get a good understanding. And I've actually made a video about this to give you some tips as to the things that you can start preparing for, so that way when you do talk to your loan officer, you give them the best opportunity to get yourself qualified, so that way you can get into your home. Now, because the market is moving so quickly, you might have to make 5, 10, 15 offers before one even sticks. So if you are thinking about buying in this market, you need to be mentally prepared for the stress, for the anxiety, for the letdown that's going to happen. And I know that may sound like doom and gloom. And if you know me, I'm definitely not that type of person, but that is the reality of the market. I've talked to numerous clients over the last year or so where they get so excited to talk to me the first time. We get them qualified and they're out shopping for a home, only to start being disappointed after the first few times that they made an offer, and then they want to back out and they say that the market's not right for them. But there's a handful of those clients that I've talked to recently, because the market's gone up so much in value, that they've made $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 in 1 year just by living in their property. And I've asked them the same question. What do you think it would have felt like if you had given up last year? And I think every single one of them would agree that that would have been a bad decision to make. So if you are thinking of buying, just know that this is going to be as much of a physical stress on you because you have to constantly look at properties, but it's also going to be a mental test as well. So just know that going into this, you might get lucky, your first offer gets accepted, but be prepared for the worst case scenario. You might have to shop for weeks, maybe even months on end before anything sticks. Another thing to consider if you're looking to buy today is making sure that you have the right representation for you. And what I mean by that is you want to have the right lender and the right real estate agent by your side. Again, this market's moving fast. Your realtor needs to be responsive. They need to understand how to negotiate, because there's still so many stories that I hear that you can't ask for closing costs. You can't do certain things on a contract. We can't ask for certain things. And a lot of times I feel like those points that the buyer is asking up for are points that are negotiable. So if you are a buyer, you need to make sure that your realtor has your best interest in mind, that they're not just out there trying to throw you into a house just so that they can get a commission. And sadly enough to say, I've been on transactions where I know I had a good feeling that's what the real estate agent was looking to do. I would hate to hear any of my clients working with a real estate agent that the realtor did not do their client justice to really work and try to get them the best deal possible. And now you have to remember to ask yourself that the best deal possible really is determined based on what you are looking to accomplish out of that offer. Yes, the obvious answer is getting the offer accepted. However, what about some of the terms? What about some of the closing costs? What about some of the transfer taxes or even contingency periods that you need to protect yourself in order to get the deal done? And yes, there are things that you have to concede to the seller to get an offer accepted, but that doesn't always have to happen every single time. Every seller has a different motivation to sell, just like every one of you as a buyer. You have a different motivation as to why you want to buy a house. Your realtor should be your biggest advocate to fight for you. And your lender should also be on that same team, because your lender is going to help you get the financing. And you want to make sure that your lender has a good reputation, that they're well known in town, because right now it's some of these other factors like who the lender is, what bank do they work for, is actually helping getting offers accepted. And you might wonder, why does that even matter? Because a pre-approval letter is good if it's from any bank, and that's not always the case. There are some lenders that will do a pre-qualification up front, which means they won't verify anything. They will simply take whatever information you give them over the phone. They'll spit out a pre-qual letter. You can start making offers on a house. And if you have an inexperienced realtor, they'll actually take that letter and use it to make offers. I have listing agents that will literally call me almost every single day with deals that fall apart to see if we can save it for them. So my advice is making sure that you work with a reputable lender that has a good reputation, and their company has a great reputation as well, because that's also another thing that sellers are looking at. They want to know that the bank or the mortgage lender, that whoever's going to be doing the financing, can perform. Because if you are a seller out there thinking of buying another house once you sell your current home, you need to make sure that that house in escrow can actually close. Because if not, you might close on another property. And what if your house falls out of escrow because the lender didn't do their homework? You're now stuck with 2 properties making 2 mortgage payments. And can you imagine the stress that's going to happen if that doesn't happen? And let me tell you, if your house falls out of escrow and you close on another home, I bet you're going to take a haircut on that house just so you can sell it. So imagine all these mistakes that can literally happen because the lender doesn't do their job, the real estate agent doesn't vet the lender out, and you as the buyer, you don't know how to shop for a lender and you ask the wrong questions. So make sure that you're doing your homework, because if you skip these steps, you cut some corners just because you need to get into a house quick, remember remember, it can cost you tens of thousands of dollars, and it's not only you that you're impacting other people and their livelihood. This one transaction that falls apart could literally have a negative impact on multiple transactions all at the same time. Another thing to take into account in today's market is you should probably have some money saved up. And I know that sounds like an obvious thing to say, and if you've been watching my channel, you know that we talk about down payment assistance programs as well. But interest rates have jumped up so significantly that some of these down payment assistance programs out there have actually pulled away their programs. Yes, we had about 7 or 8 programs that we were utilizing in one specific state that we're down to now about 2 down payment assistance in that state. So you want to make sure that you are up to date with the information that your lender is giving you. If your pre-approval is over 90 days old, 1, it's probably expired, and 2, you should probably re-engage with your loan officer to get it updated. That's only if you're serious about buying. If you feel defeated and you feel that now you're just going to take a break before you get back into the market again, that's totally fine. But before you do that, make sure you update your pre-approval. Interest rates have gone up significantly. If you were pre-approved at a lower interest rate and your lender had max qualified you for your debt to income ratio, you could easily be not qualified for what you initially thought you were, and you may need to come in with a lot more money if you still want to purchase that initial type of property. This is why I've mentioned this in my other videos, that your realtor and your lender right now should be your best friend, because you need to be in constant contact with these guys, strategizing on offers, making sure your pre-approval is up to date, and that the program that you qualified for is still around. As interest rates are going up, I'm sure you've heard this, mortgage lenders are doing less production. We went through a refinance boom the last couple of years and have done record numbers across the board. Mortgage production is down for the entire industry. About 1/3 of the production is gone simply because of rates and refinances. They're gone. They're no longer there. So if these mortgage companies that are out there are not well prepared for the storm that's ahead, that program that you may thought that you were qualified on could easily be pulled away. This reminds me of a client that we were actually using a non-QM product. This is a bank statement loan that we were doing right before COVID hit. This is right before the whole thing happened. She was qualified. We were in escrow. I was needing some updated paperwork from her in order to get the escrow closed. She dragged her feet for probably 2 or 3 weeks, kept telling me, I'm going to get you the paperwork. I'm going to get you the paperwork. She never did. And literally, probably the week or 2 before COVID hit, that bank decided to pull that program. They literally said, we are not funding any more loans past this date at 5 p.m. And guess what? Our loan was not going to fund by that time. I had to tell the client that your loan was no good. We didn't have another option for her because that was the one and only bank that had that program that I needed in order to close her loan. She ended up losing the house and lost her earnest money deposit. So if you are utilizing a very unique loan product to get your loan done, time is of the essence. You don't know if that bank's going to be around in the next month, 2, 6 months. So if it's something that you are very specific and unique in your financial situation, make sure that you're moving as fast as you can, and always stay in touch with the lender, because again, that program can get pulled at any given time. The last thing you'd want is to be like my client. She had thousands of dollars that she lost simply because, 1, she dragged her feet. If she got me the paperwork 3 weeks in advance like I asked her to, we would have closed on the house. Unfortunately, things didn't work out, but maybe in her case, things are better than what they could have been. But I'd hate to hear any of you that watch my videos go through that type of heartache, because that is very frustrating to know that you could have closed on a house, that you didn't, and now it's costing you money. Another thing to really think about if you are thinking about buying is speak to a professional. Like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, you'll probably have friends and family members tell you you're crazy. They're going to give you their 2 cents on the market, what you should and shouldn't do. But talk to a professional. Talk to someone who is actively doing deals today. Because if your family member bought a house 5 years ago, 10 years ago, the market's completely different. And if someone starts telling you about the 2008 crash, that's completely different from today's market. You could be making a decision based on bad information, old information, and bad data. And that's the last thing you'd want to do, because obviously if you could buy a house today, there's a lot of upside as well that can come along with owning a property. So you don't want to make a bad decision based on bad information. always check with a lender. There's a lot of ways you can look for lenders online. There's a lot of ways you can talk to a real estate agent without being committed to any of them. Just because you talk to a lender doesn't even mean you have to work with them. Make sure that you guys jive and you like each other and you like the answers that they're providing you to the questions that you have. And if they're not, they can't articulate their point, it doesn't sound like they know what they're doing, then find someone else that does. There's thousands of lenders out there. You can literally go to Zillow.com and you can type in your city and you can pull up tons of loan officers. You can actually search them by customer reviews so you can see who's doing deals, what kind of feedback are their clients saying, and go from there. So don't rush into something, especially right now. The market's a little wonky. There's a lot of things going on and it may not be the right time for you to buy. But just because it's not the right time for you, that doesn't necessarily mean it's not the right time for your friend or family member or whoever it is. Lots of reasons and lots of pros as to why you'd want to buy a house today, but there's also a lot of cons too. And I've actually done a video on that, so make sure to check out my playlist and you can actually watch that video for yourself. And my name is Sean Uyehara. I will see you on the next video.